Hey, it's Sue, and today I wanted to take inspiration from Love to Draw manga and draw some of my characters and the Rise of the TMNT characters into memes. So let's get right into it. So the first one I am doing is this one of a first character saying, Jeez, I can't talk. You okay, to a second character who appears to like them and who also appears to have been bullied or beaten up or whatever by the character who the first character beat up and left in the background. So yeah, I decided to do Sammy and Mikey here because I thought it would be adorable. Because they're already adorable, and this would just make them even more adorable. And it seemed like it would fit them pretty well. I don't think this scene will ever happen in my story, at least not for quite a while. But it is adorable, and I think it could be very cute. Yeah, so here I am just doing the very rough sketch, trying to figure out how to get things planned out. And this character in the background gave me a lot of trouble because he was never quite on the perspective I wanted him to be in, since he was always weirdly slanted, and that's just not what I wanted. I feel like this meme drawing is definitely my favorite one of the two I did, just because I think it's adorable, and something about it's just, I like it more than the other one. I'm not meaning to sound like I don't like the other one, because I quite like it too, but I think this one's my favorite. I just really like the way it turned out. I realized a while back that when I was drawing Mikey, I was drawing the top of his head like the same size as the bottom of his head, and that was making him look really weird and not like Mikey, because if you look at the Rise art, their head's smaller on the top and rounder on the bottom, I guess, or bigger on the bottom. Not much bigger, but if you look at the drawing I'm drawing right now, you'll see what I mean. And I found that when I started drawing Mikey and Sammy like this, they looked more, Mikey looked more like Mikey. And as for Sammy, I feel like I did the same thing, because Mikey and Sammy are both box shell turtles, even though Mikey's an ornate one and Sammy's a common one. They're still similar, and I feel like that just gives them the kind of cohesion of species type or whatever. I don't know what to call it, but I think you get my point. For the flowers around the first character, I made them like Sammy's flowers that are on the side of her mask. I think the flowers on the side of her mask are based on sunflowers, but I mean, they're also supposed to look like a sun because she's Sammy, or Sunny, because one of her nicknames is Sunny. Yeah. So they're not really a type of flower. And they're not real. The ones on the side of her mask, they're not real flowers. She made them to put on the side of her mask. So I guess that would make her a relatively good sewer. Oh. I never thought about that. I guess she would be pretty good at that. Or at least decent, because the flowers look nice. Oh, there we go. We can add that to her list of talents. She can play the flute and she can sew. She also likes to craft, but she doesn't draw like Mikey does. She makes little crafts, like cards with little paper hearts on it. And she's more into the crafting and less into the drawing. So Mikey and her are different, but they have to be somewhat similar because they got to get along, you know? And we're back to this guy. I promise he's not dead. He's just making a face. I actually drew this picture on the 4th of July, so I didn't get to finish it until I started the picture on the 4th of July, and then I found out, right before we did it, that we were going to see fireworks at our local park, and so I had to finish it the next day, and that's when I did the second, meme you're going to see in this video. But I feel like, in this picture, I had a little bit of trouble with the line art, just because I was using thicker line art than I usually do. It wasn't thicker by much, but it was just thick enough to be a little bit more visible than usual, so it looked a lot more not as good. if it was like done kind of sloppily than when you do thin line. Other than the fact that I made the tops of their head too thick with the line art, the line art process went relatively smoothly, except for the fact that when I was doing the line art for this arm, I realized it shouldn't even connect like that, and I had to go through the whole process of finagling it until it connected to the body correctly. I tried my best to follow my reference pretty exactly, but also make it like my own. So like I changed the way she was holding the bat, like it's more, the handle's more pointed towards us, and I don't know what else I did. Oh yeah, I think I removed the hand from the second character. I think that's a hand. That's a hand, right? I don't know. I'm assuming it's a hand. But yeah, I didn't put that in either. Yeah. I don't know what I'm supposed to be talking about now. I've run out of things. Oh yeah, here I drew the lace, whatchamacallit, on her arms. I realized I forgot to sketch that in, and so I had to wing it with the line art, but I do it so much. At this point, it's just easy for me. Yeah. I don't know why I decided to fill that eye in like that, where I did the hatching and then filled it all the way in. I don't know what the point of that was. But yeah. I did include teeth in both of these illustrations. I don't normally do that, but I feel like I was just feeling adventurous. I wanted to step out of my comfort zone and draw teeth. Yep. Yeah, I don't know why I did that. I don't know. I feel like it just needed it to be there to push the expression as far as I wanted it to be. I like my characters when they're expressing emotion. They're like really expressing emotion. I want it to be super hyper and noticeable. I don't want it to just be a little emotion typically. I want it to be quite big. Unless they're trying to hide that emotion, then I try and keep it more subtle. And so it kind of gives you an idea, if you know this about my art, that you know when they're trying to hide an emotion and when they're actually just letting that emotion be seen by the entire world. Yeah, after I drew these pictures though, I kind of stopped wanting to draw for a while. It's been like 3 days and I haven't drawn more than a quick sketch here or a face there. Sounds kind of weird. But yeah, it's just stopped entertaining me. I feel like I have nothing to fill my time because I just have nothing I want to draw. It's not that I don't want to draw. It's just I have nothing that I want to draw. Oh, and here I flipped the canvas and I saw that I don't know how I didn't notice it, but the way I was drawing Mikey's eyes was really weird because like one side went down all the way and the other one stopped, but it was like flipped for the other side. I don't know why I did that, but I fixed it when I flipped the canvas. And for some reason I felt too lazy to like tilt his head back to like the right because it was slightly tilted too far to the left, and I could have made it straight, but I just decided I wasn't going to for some reason. A lot of times when I'm drawing Mikey, I nearly forget the little sticker on his plastron, but I didn't forget it this time. I remembered. Yeah. I did have to go look at a reference to figure out what side his spots go on, because I know he's got like 2 circles on one arm or one shoulder and 1 circle on another shoulder. I just couldn't remember which one went where, and I'm striving for accuracy in my art, at least when it comes to the Ninja Turtles. So yeah, I say accuracy. He's not that accurate to the show. He's still very much in my style, but like accurate to the design. Yeah, I don't know why I also don't know why I draw my characters so skinny. Like they're very, very skinny. Like they're just twigs. I sometimes find it very charming, and I sometimes like, why does he look like a stick? I don't have the answer to these questions a lot. I did resize the guy in the back. He seemed a little too tiny, and so because I resized him after I did the line art, I had to do the line art again because his line art was like super, like, It wasn't as clean as the rest of it because it had been turned down. What am I trying to say? Turned down. It had been sized up, and that made the quality go down. And so I put the quality back up by redoing it in the size I wanted it to be. There we go, I got it. I believe I was nearly ready for the colors. I did have a little bit of trouble with the colors because I'm used to be able to just bucket it, but because there's no like bottom to them, I'd have to actually like add an outline, and that did make the coloring take a little bit longer, mainly because I kept having to click the back arrow because the entire background was filled in with like a green or a yellow. I say green or yellow. I don't think the yellow ended up doing that though because it was in the mask. It doesn't really matter. I was just giving an example. I feel like the majority of this video is just me saying because I don't know what I'm talking about. I just keep like stumbling over my words and forgetting what I'm saying and saying the wrong thing or saying the right thing in the wrong order, and it's just a little bit of a mess. And now, as you can see, I am getting ready to do the shading. I set a layer to multiply and decided to use like a purple-ish pink color for the shading. It looks really dark here, but I'll lower the opacity in a second when I finish it. I really like the way it looks when it goes from super dark to lighter. It just like brings the whole piece together, and so I like to save lowering the opacity until I've done every single bit of shading because I just like the way it looks when it's like a grand reveal. I don't know, it's just fun for me. I like doing that. I added shading to a lot of the places. I decided to have the light source coming from I think it's the left in this case. But since Mikey is like looking at her from a certain angle, the light source seems to be coming from the front of him. Yeah, I had to very much keep in mind which way the light was coming from with each character because they're constantly turning. And I feel like I've gotten a lot better at this doing the comic because there's a lot of times when they're moving around so much, I'm just like, where was the light coming from again? And I just have to retrace my steps from the entire comic to figure out where the light would be coming from now. And I did add some shading to the guy in the back, and I decided to add a drop shadow just like the reference. I decided to put it in gray. I debated doing it in the magenta, purplish, whatever you call it, color, but I figured it would be just better to do it in gray since it wouldn't look purple. And then I did the little brushing marks and typed okay in the font I used for my comic. I actually really like this one. For the longest time though, whenever you did like the dots to like show someone trailing off or something, they would stand up vertically, which was really weird. They fixed it now, so it's really weird. I'm used to having to space it out. But here's the finished picture. I quite like the way this one turned out. And so now let's get on to the next one. As you can see in this meme, there's like one really enraged character and two shocked characters and one that's like cheering them on. And you may be thinking, okay, you're drawing Donnie for this one. And to that I say, no, I'm not drawing Donnie. I am drawing Jane. Her secondary color is purple, so I just used the purple to sketch it out since I figured I could just use the same color for both Donnie and Jane and have it be a little less, lots of colors. It would make it easier for me. But Jane is very quiet and sweet, so her getting enraged like this is quite shocking to Raph and May, who ended up being the other two people here who's shocked. But Donnie decided he was just going to root for her because he fully supports this sudden outburst. Yeah, Donnie is like, you know, the emotionally unavailable bad boy, and so he's always just like kind of nonchalant and aloof to most things. What does aloof even mean? I don't know. I heard Lovejoy Manga use it for Raisin, and he's kind of like Donnie, so I'm just gonna use it to describe Donnie. But despite this, I always tend to draw him with kind of like super strong emotions because that's just more fun than drawing someone who quote unquote doesn't feel anything. And I just enjoy it more. I very much tried to push the pose with Jane since I figured the more expressive it is, the more I could get away doing without like adding words. I don't know what's going on here. I just started drawing them. I just figured this could work. Why is she so upset? I don't know. I did have to pull out a reference for Jane later because I totally forgot which part of her vitiligo spots go on, because I couldn't remember, because I draw her probably the least amount of all of my characters and the Ninja Turtles. Like, I draw Raph more than her, and I draw Raph very little. And wait, is that why she's mad? Is she upset because I'm like barely ever draw her and she's just very upset? Or maybe she's quite upset because she's not in the comic yet. Like, it's been like 2-3 chapters and she hasn't shown up yet. Maybe she's upset about that. But either way, she's quite upset with me, I'm assuming. And I also think that maybe Donnie's upset with me too, and he's cheering her on. And then Raph is just kind of like, oh goodness, she's really upset. And May's just like, how dare she neglect you? What am I even talking about anymore? They're not, okay. Yeah, that's the scenario I'm coming up with. They're mad at me. Yeah. Yeah. For Donnie's expression, he kind of looked insane at first, but I did make his pupil bigger, and it just made him look less insane. Again, I was trying to stick to the references as closely as I could, and they had really small pupils on that, so I tried that. It didn't work. I made them bigger. I do think he kind of looks like he's looking at his phone, though. I tried to fix that later, but I used where Raph was looking as an example. I drew a line from his eyes and a line from Donnie's eyes, and they appear to be looking in the same direction. Wait, I think I did that wrong. For the way they were looking, I drew a line from Raph's eyes going in the direction he was looking, but then I drew a line from Donnie's eyes going to meet that spot. That's not how that works. You're not supposed to do it like that, though. That you're supposed to make the line coming from the way he's looking, and if it doesn't meet up with the way the other person's looking, you need to move it so it is. Yeah, see, look, he wasn't looking that way. He was looking like in the general direction, but like not at her. Yeah, so I guess I probably should have fixed it. I would say it's too late now, but it really isn't. I can totally go back and fix it. I was gonna add little blushy marks to Raph because I thought that, yeah, he'd probably think she looks adorable when she's upset. But Love to Draw Manga did that too, and I'm not trying to copy here, so I left them out. I feel like I probably could have gotten away without it seeming like copying, but still, I didn't want to do the exact same thing as her, so I changed it. I do think I get a lot of my video ideas from Love to Draw Manga, but then again, she is like one of the main inspirations I have from for making my YouTube channel, so it makes sense that I take a lot of her video ideas. So thank you for inspiring this video. I don't know if you got it from anyone, but I'm gonna take it from you. It sounded like stealing. I'm not stealing, I promise. I'm just taking inspiration. Yeah, but I do think I've moved around his eyes a little bit more, but I still think he's not looking in quite the right direction. Honestly, I kind of wish May was standing next to Donnie, just because it's like, it's May and Donnie, and they're adorable. That's all that needs to be said. I put May in here solely because, not only did she seem like one of the most likely persons to make this reaction besides, like, Jane herself, it's just that we had Raph and Jane in here. Might as well put May and Donnie too. Then, instead of having one couple and two friends, we can have two couples. You know what I'm saying? I also made Raph taller, because he was a lot shorter than he should be. I made a reference chart for their heights, when like the first story starts out. They do grow, and I realized canonly Donnie's like 5'3", but in my story it's been a year and he's not like 5'6" or something like that. Here I flipped the canvas. I just decided, instead of sketching over it again though, I just adjust the things that I figured I needed to, and I realized I didn't put the back of Donnie's shell in there, and I moved Jane to look more centered on the page, but then I flipped it again and she didn't look centered anymore, so I just moved her again. I don't know how to make her look centered if she's gonna look not centered every time I flip the canvas. And then I moved on to the line art. This went pretty smoothly. I do think it took me longer than the other one for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why. I mean, the sketches look basically like the same amount of cleanliness. And I don't know why it was just taking so long. I do often get distracted by the things I have playing in the background. Like sometimes I'm listening to an audiobook, other times I'm listening to a video, and every now and again I'll be talking to my sisters. So it slows me down a good amount, but not to the point where it takes me a lot longer than it normally does. Like I look like I'm going super duper slow in this footage. Like there's times when I just stop and aren't doing anything. Like this is a time lapse. Why does it look like I'm going at normal speed? Just a little bit faster maybe. I don't know why this is happening. I guess I'm just slow when it comes to this liner, at least on this day. But I quite like how this meme turned out. I was going to draw another one, but I wasn't liking the way it was turning out, and I was kind of getting burnt out from all the drawing. Oh, I did realize I put her thumb on the wrong side in this drawing, because if she was to put her hand down, the thumb would need to point inwards, and that would not be the case if I put the thumb there on this, or thumb where it used to be. So I moved it, and now it's correct. There was this one time I drew this picture, and I was tracing it because I was trying to learn how to draw, and I finally finished the thing, but somehow I still managed to put the thumb on the wrong side of the hand, and I never noticed until like just a couple months ago. It was like really annoying to me because I'm like, how did I make such a mistake when I was straight up tracing to figure out how to draw? It's just, I used to trace a lot when I was drawing. I won't show any of the pictures because I don't have the pictures I traced from, but I used to trace a lot, and it helped me get very good at, I think, just figuring out how to draw things, and I got much better at drawing from reference, and it definitely helped. So if you are looking for a way to improve fast, I recommend tracing some art you like, but don't claim it as your own, and don't trace for every piece you do, because once you do it a little bit and you think you have a good grip on what you're doing, you can try doing it yourself, and of course as time goes on it'll become more your style. But it definitely helps you improve a lot faster than it is if you just draw from reference, even though that is a big help. Anyway, getting back on topic, we are continuing to do the liner, and I literally just drew the exact phone I had in the reference because I don't have a phone. I didn't feel like getting up and getting my quote-unquote phone. It technically is a phone, but it's just used for music, so I don't really count it. To figure out what an actual phone looks like. So I just did the simple thing that was on this phone in the reference. And then I drew his goggles in. I feel like I have a lot of trouble sometimes with Donnie's goggles. They just don't look like they're in the same perspective as the head. I've gotten better at it, but it's still not perfect. I've gotten better at a lot of things from drawing the Ninja Turtles just because I draw them so much and I get a lot more practice in. Character design, I got a lot better at that. And yes, you may find it kind of, like, if you were to read the story, you might find it quite weird that they dress, like, somewhat the same as the girls do. But to be fair, I just wanted them to all be cohesive in some way, and I just wanted to design a girl character who was, like, nearly, like, had the same outfit choices as the guys, because I like the guys' outfit choices. They're really nice. Also, I will not hesitate to give them cool outfits in the stories I have planned to come, because I've been talking about my comic, and I believe I mentioned it as the first story, and that's because I got, like, 4 other planned. Not 4 others, but 3 others, and there's 4 altogether. And then I have a mini-series planned. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot. I did adjust May's height a lot, or a little. I made it taller, and then she was too tall. I was really just trying to guess how tall she'd be if she, like, let her shoulders fall slack, and if Donnie wasn't, like, propping himself up, because I imagine he's slightly taller than he normally is, just because he's, like, on one foot and kind of boosting himself up. I did experiment with May's hand a little bit to try and change the pose and make it a little bit more interesting instead of just flat, but I couldn't think of anything that actually looked normal, so I just kept it the same. And so I've nearly finished the line art for May, but I forgot her little wrist pad thingies, which are an important part of her design, and she also has fingerless gloves that are really short. So I made sure to put those in. Yeah, here they are. I was about to say I don't think I drew the fingerless gloves in, but I did. I also end up putting Raph's tail mask thingies in after I do the coloring, because I didn't realize I forgot it until after I did the coloring, which is now. I did the coloring. I also outlined Donnie's arm at one spot in white because it was blending in with Raph's things. Here I started the shading. I did it basically the same as the previous picture since I wanted them to look cohesive in some way. And yeah, the light source is coming from basically the same spot. I didn't want her whole face to be in shadow because that just seemed a little bit too dramatic of lighting for the situation. I feel like I definitely go a little bit crazy with the lighting, I believe, just because I really like doing lighting. I did draw her bracelet in there. When did I do the bracelet? I can't even remember. But yeah, I really like the touch of the bracelet. I actually might change up Jane's design just a little bit, and I'll definitely tell you guys if I do, but I feel like her design's a little bit more boring than the rest of them, and I feel like if I was to change it up a little bit and take inspiration from how she shows up in the story, I could come up with something a lot cooler. I'm not going to change it a lot. I'm just going to give her like a different outfit, I guess, kind of. Maybe make her look a little bit different from the guys, make it more unique. Again, that might make the others, like the other girls, seem out of place. The fact that they're like exactly the same as them. Oh, okay. Maybe I shouldn't change it up that much. But I'll think of something. I think I just want to give her something more to her outfit. And I'll definitely tell you guys if, wait, that actually sounds fun, doing some more things with her outfit. I want to do that. Oh my gosh. I can't believe I actually want to draw right now. This hasn't happened in 3 days. Oh, I'm excited. I gotta go do this in a second. The video's almost done anyway, so it'll be fine. If I can get done with it before the video goes up, I will show it to you on screen what I ended up coming up with. If I can. It may end up being like super spoilery and I may leave it out, but if I can, I'll put it up on screen. But anyway, here's the finished picture. I had a lot of fun making this. I really enjoyed doing this video too, and if you like the video, please consider liking and subscribing, and I will hopefully see you all in my next video.